we got an NFL combine to recap, and some OU guys made some absolute waves with their performance there at the NFL combine in Indianapolis. Let's go in order by the day the guys performed. So let's start with Jalen Redmond. The big question for us was, how athletic is this guy? Turns out he's pretty athletic. And you look at it, 4'8", 140, second amongst the defensive linemen. 34.5-inch vert, first. 9'8" broad, first. A 7.303 cone, first. A 4.51 shuttle, first among the defensive linemen. Did 27 reps on the bench, which was fourth. Ted, he looked really, really athletic in drills. I'm not sure the combine could have gone any better for him when it comes to what he showed athletically. Now, teams are still going to have a lot of questions about the tape, right? But when it comes to going to Indianapolis and doing everything you could do to show that you're a good athlete, Jalen Redmond did exactly that, man. That was impressive.
Well, whenever you are that athletic and the numbers look like his look with the size that he checked in at, which was really nice size, we've talked about this before. They start to view your film differently, right? They, instead of saying a guy only flashes every now and then, what's going on? They start to say, well, wow, look at how impressive these moments are. And we can get him to have more moments like that. So it's really an incredible performance. And I know that it's strange that a guy like Redmond is going to perform this well. And for OU fans, there's going to be more questions than there is celebration. It's like, how? Right? I mean, that's the one thing that we waited on forever, is for it to translate to the field. And it did in moments, but it ultimately leaves you feeling like, my goodness, why weren't we able to get more production out of him whenever he was here? Because he's here for a long time.
That's the thing. I think that's the thing. You look at the numbers, clearly he's a gifted athlete, right? But I feel like we always knew that. It was the injuries and the inconsistencies with him, right? And I think there's going to be a team that's going to talk themselves into it, be like, hey, we can keep him healthy, we can get the most out of him. But there's absolutely no doubt that the show he put on in Indianapolis, it's going to make every single team in the league go back and go, okay, let's take a closer look.
Yeah.
Right. And when you're in his situation, when you're in his situation that he was in heading into Indianapolis, I mean, that's mission accomplished, man. I mean, they still might not like what they see on the film, but now putting up those type of numbers, you've got everyone's attention. Everyone's going back and saying, okay, what's up with this guy?
Well, the list of guys that have been first or second in almost every drill at the combine and been drafted later than the third round is an incredibly short list. I don't know. It's probably never happened. You just big, physical, strong, explosive humans like Jalen Redmond. There's not that many of them every year. And that is the premium. We say this on this show all the time, quarterbacks and wideout, like all of these things matter, but it is a line of scrimmage sport. And whenever you have guys that are that explosive, that's where you start. I don't know where he's going to end up getting drafted, but it's probably going to be much higher than anyone expected.
Yeah. So the thing that stood out, like the testing numbers were great, right? But I thought he looked fantastic in the drills, like the pass rush, like doing the bags, everything. Like he looked so smooth and polished, and that's why this was my number one takeaway. I think I think throughout Jalen Redmond's career, yes, the injuries have set him back. There's no doubt about it. But there was always a concern of, okay, how much does this guy really like football? Right. And that wasn't like us just saying that. We had heard that from guys that were on the coaching staff. Like they just didn't know. Well, him going and putting up these type of numbers, it at least shows you that he took the training and the preparation for this very, very seriously. He looked like he was in great shape. He looked extremely polished in pretty much everything that he did. And I think that bodes well for people that may be questioning his dedication to this entire thing, right? He was clearly very well prepared and put the time and work in that it took to put up these type of numbers.
I can't tell you if he loves football or not, but I can tell you that he's decided to make a career out of it. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
At the end of the day, that's what's gone on here is like there's a lot of people that have careers that they don't necessarily love, right? But you show up and you perform as good as you can, and the man's going to play football for money, and there is no doubt about that. And something else we've talked about on here: some guys are much better professional players than they are collegiate players. Just it's different. It's different. And some guys, maybe don't get into the whole like team and culture thing, prefer to just tell me what I need to do and I will show up every day and do it without all of the other stuff. And maybe he's going to be one of those guys. He clearly has the tools to be able to do it.
Yeah. It was a good couple days for Redmond. I think he made himself some money. Okay. Michael Turk ran a 4.8 340 and had a 34-inch vert. Pretty dang good for a punter. You want to go into any deep analysis on that?
I don't know. I mean, it's awesome that he did that, showed some really good athleticism, but would it matter if he ran a 4.3 at punter?
No.
Why do they even ask those guys to do that?
I think some guys just want to show that they're good athletes. Just like, hey, I can tackle a guy if I have to because I can run pretty fast.
Yeah. He's a hell of an athlete, but that 4.8 and that 34-inch vertical pale in comparison to what he can do whenever he lights the football up. So I think he'll be just fine.
I would pay, and I don't know that this happened for a fact. I'm just going to assume with the experiences you had at the combine, which the experiences I had at the combine, we've shared some stories over the years. I want to know what his first reaction was when a coach said, hey, that YouTube thing? That's going away. You're a punter. I wonder how he handled that in the interview process.
Oh my God.
Because it came up so many times. Like, hey, our punter's not going to have a YouTube channel. It ain't happening. You know what I mean?
You know what's interesting? So a lot of those interviews, they try and get you, like they'll question you about your past and a lot of stuff. And then they'll talk some football and maybe get you on the board and talk about the schemes and stuff that, what did they talk to a punter about?
I assume the special teams coach talks to him about, like, they talk shop. I have no clue. I'm not even gonna pretend I know.
So how do you hold it whenever you punt it? How do you drop it? Are you a long drop or short drop guy? Funny.
I don't know. All right, Marvin Mims. He's fast. He's very, very fast. We had him on the podcast. What did he say? 4.4?
I think he said he was going to try and run 4.3.
And he did. 4.38. Tied for the fourth fastest among wide receivers. Also had a great vert, 39.5 inches. That was tied for fifth among the wide receivers. A 10.9 broad, which is really, really good. Had a 6.9 3-cone, which is, I thought, in the 4.38, 40, like I knew he was really fast in a straight line. We've watched him run by people for 3 years. We know he's really fast in a straight line. But I was wondering, I was really interested in that 3-cone number, and that's a really nice time for him. So I thought Marvin Mims, he did what he needed to do. I thought he looked great catching the football in the drills. I kept hearing from, person after person after person how impressive he was in the media setting and just talking to people down there. So I think he did himself a lot of good also.
No doubt about it. And we've said this a bunch on here also. If you are not the prototype size for your position, you better bring something different. It better be incredible strength and explosion, or it better be incredible speed. And for a guy that's on the smaller side for the wide receiver position, he showed incredible speed. So you make up that difference right there, and the size becomes not an issue anymore. So I thought he was great. And you're right, some of the interview stuff, I thought he sounds incredibly professional. He's got a really nice demeanor about him. And I don't know where he's going to get drafted. Wide receiver is incredibly difficult to gauge that, but those numbers definitely helped him.
No doubt. Now, some people tried to make a big deal about the answer he had where he said, "Oh, you didn't ask him to run a ton of different routes." Welcome to college football, man. There's just there are not a lot of offenses in college football where you are running an NFL route tree. It's just, especially if you're playing in a tempo offense like Mims did. So, I mean, that's true for the vast majority of college offenses. So some people tried to make it into a really, really big deal. And I didn't think it was a big deal at all. But some people tried to blow it up into this massive deal, like, oh, this is going to be used against us in recruiting. Listen, no, it's not. He was just being honest, and it's true. It's true. Now, you run a lot of different routes. It's not like you're running 2 different routes or anything like that if you're Marvin Mims, especially with how much
there's like 8 routes total anyways.
Right.
You know, it's like it was a weird deal. Yeah.
Why did that become such a big deal? I was confused. I was like, wait, why are people freaking out?
You know, whenever he said, he wasn't saying it as anything bad, but some people immediately took it as, well, that's why our offense isn't where it should be, or whatever, is because it's so limited on routes, or they either blamed OU's offense and Levy because there's not enough routes in the tree that they run, or they blamed it on Mims and said, well, the only reason he's not running more routes is because he's not a good route runner. He's only a deep ball threat. It's like it split everyone right down the middle, and everyone had to take sides. And I'm sitting here saying, there are no sides to take. This is not an issue. The kid is a 4.3 athlete that ran a 6.9 3-cone. It doesn't matter what the route is, right? Like, he could run the route.
He'll be fine.
There's like a post, there's the flag, there's a deep in, a deep out, a comeback, like an under, across, a slant. There's only so many routes, right? It's not like you're inventing all kinds of things. So he'll be absolutely fine. He's got all the skill he'll need.
Yeah, I think that with that performance, I think he probably climbed some teams' big boards at the wide receiver position.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I would be surprised if that didn't bump him into some teams like the top 5, 6 wide receivers on their board, right? I just think that he's not the biggest guy in the world. I get that, but he's extremely mature, great locker room guy, and clearly a very gifted athlete. So I was really happy for Marvin.
Nope. He went there. You either improve your stock or you drop. And with those numbers, he improved.
No doubt. Okay, Brayden Willis. I was surprised. It was not what I expected. Now, first of all, he did not run a 40, which I thought was interesting. He had a 32-inch vert, 6'9", 3-cone. It doesn't matter what the route is. He could run the route. 9'9" broad, a 7.303 cone, a 4.36 shuttle. Certainly not what I expected, right? Not numbers for a tight end that are really going to jump out to you. Just to put it, just for a point of reference, like he ran a 7.303 cone. I ran a 7.303 cone at the combine. He ran a 4.36 shuttle. I ran a 4.37 shuttle. So when I see those numbers, I'm like, okay, this seems like I know that Brayden Willis is a better athlete than I am. You know what I'm saying? So I just wonder. I wonder if he was nervous or if he slipped. Like I just wonder what happened with some of this testing. But I did think it was strange he didn't run a 40. Maybe something happened in his training. I don't know, but this was not what I expected from him, Ted.
No, it's not. But
I
I don't know
don't
what to
think I
make
really
of it,
care.
and I don't think anyone else is going to care either. Like what you got from him, like aside from going out there and being an outlier athletically, I think you know exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get a dude that, every single snap you can put him at a different spot. He can pass protect. He can run block. He can run routes. He's got good speed, good athleticism. You can put him at fullback. Like the guy can do absolutely everything. Aside from going out there and just doing some numbers that really stood out among the rest of the group, I think everything you got from him's already cooked in, right? And I think everyone at the Senior Bowl got to see the type of football player he is. Now, it is curious. I think he is athletically better than this, but it could be incredibly difficult at the combine. It's something we've talked about. You never know how the training went. You never know how some guys just can't sleep well there. It's just bad. It's not a good place to go and perform. And some guys, handle it differently than others. And the circumstances can unfold differently for everyone. Then, I can't explain it. I expect him to better every single one of those numbers at Pro Day.
I do too. And I will say, and I don't want to make any excuses for Brayden, but he had that foot injury at the end of the season, right? And played through it in the bowl game. And then you go straight into the All-Star games and all that stuff. So I wonder, I wonder how healthy he is and like how that affected his training. Like you don't really know, but I also know this.
There's a lot of pressure there. If you get invited to the combine, and you're not like a first round guy, you feel like, oh my God, if I'm going to go to the NFL, I'd go perform with the thing or what I like.
Yeah. So I don't really, I'm not going to overreact to the testing numbers, but I also know what we saw when we watched him on tape this season. And ultimately the tape is what matters the most, right? That's what teams are going to care about the most. And he put a lot of good stuff on tape, man.
Yep. There is no doubt about that. I don't worry about Brayden Willis at all. I mean, going to the combine, I'm not sure where he ends up draft wise. I have no idea, but he's going to get an opportunity to make a football team. He's going to be in an NFL camp, and my guess is he probably makes it.
All right, let's move on to what we saw from the guys on Sunday. Anton Harrison had himself a very interesting Sunday. Okay, did you see this whole thing with his arm length measurement?
I did not. Not until I saw that you had it in the rundown.
Okay, so it was a very weird situation. So, he measured in, right? 6'4", 315. Good. And then on Twitter, it was reported that he had a 31 3/4 inch arm, which for an offensive tackle is a massive red flag. It was all over Twitter, like, oh my gosh, he's got T-Rex arms. What in the world? And when I saw it, I was like, there's no way that's right. Like I've seen him in person. He's got longer arms than I do. I know that. I know that for a fact. There's no way that's right. And I kept telling my wife, I was like, there's no way that's right. And then it came out, someone put out a correction on Twitter that he had a 34 and an eighth inch arm. And I was like, yes, that's the correct number. But for about a 45-minute to an hour minute time frame, Anton Harrison had gone from like tackle 1 or 2 on a lot of people's boards to, oh, he has to play guard now. Like that's how drastic of a reaction there was to that arm length number. It was insane. But the entire time I was like, there is no way that number is right. Zero chance.
Well, I feel bad for someone had that measurement. I don't know who it was, but they didn't pull that out of nowhere. Just didn't match up to the right person. I'm glad they got that fixed.
Yeah, it was a big deal. Whoever put that on Twitter, that was a bit of an oopsie, but man, he looked good running. He looked good in the drills, ripped off the 4.98 40, which was second among O linemen, 28.5-inch vert. Broad was whatever, who cares? 8.9, but he looked very polished. I thought he looked like he was in really good shape. Looked like he had tightened things up the way that he needed to. Ted, I'm not sure it could have gone much better for him, man. I don't know how the interviews went. I think the interviews will be huge for him, but when it comes to the athletic portion of the NFL Combine, Anton Harrison, it feels like he checked the boxes he needed to check.
Yeah. Well, you go out there and you look as athletic as he does and as athletic as he is, and you turn in those numbers that he did, you go break 5 seconds as a 315-pound offensive tackle, look good in all the drills, the film checks out. Not just as the film check out, also it's not a bad thing whenever Orlando Brown is about to get paid and Creed Humphreys is playing the way he is. Like Bill Bedenbaugh's guys perform well in the NFL. So if you're another Bill Bedenbaugh guy, like that is that's another box that you check for an NFL team. He's trending up. That's a good way to trend.
He looked so good running that 40. And I know that's not how offensive line is played, but it almost gave me more ammo for my theory that he's going to be a better pro than he's a college player, just because I think his athleticism is going to get utilized a little more in the NFL than it did at OU because of all the gap scheme stuff. Like I think you get him out on the edge and like pin pull stuff, outside zone type stuff. I just think that's gonna take his game to a different level. So man, that last like 10 or 15 yards of that 40 though, that dude was moving. I mean, he was gliding. Daniel Jeremiah said he looked like a tight end on the broadcast.
Yeah. That's crazy. So what do you think? Think he cracks the top 10, top 12?
I'm pretty confident he's going to go in the first round now, just because it turns out he doesn't have T-Rex arms and he's actually got a nice long arm for an offensive tackle. But I'm just going to have to see him go like in the top 15 before I believe it. I think he's more of a back half of the first round type of guy, or maybe early second round guy, but offensive tackles, right, especially athletic ones, don't tend to last in the draft, man. So it just takes one team, and maybe it is the Jets with that 13th pick. Yeah. But I'll say this: he didn't, unless something happened in the interviews, he did not hurt his stock at all. Like he looked so athletic and smooth in pretty much everything he did, man. It really stood out just watching it on the TV broadcast.
Yeah. Well, when you go out there and Kuiper throws out kind of a shocking number of where you may go, and you go have a performance like that, it solidifies it. And, maybe there are some people thinking that, hey, if he gets some of these athletic benchmarks and, because the film checks out. He's really high on our board. So I don't know. That's because he doesn't listen. He's talking about Kuiper. He's been in the business a long time. Now, a lot of what he says could be stupid. All right. I get that. But he doesn't come up with a lot of these things just out of thin air, right?
Right.
He's talking to the people that are giving some information. So I don't know. It's interesting.
No doubt about it. Okay, Wanya Morris had a 5.10 40, and then on the second 40 popped his hammy and wasn't able to do any of the drills because of that, which is a huge bummer. I always hate seeing it. It happens to a couple guys every combine, and it's really unfortunate that Wanya was one of them. Man, he went down like a ton of bricks, dude. It was not good, but was able to he did the vert and the broad before that, got a 28.5-inch vert, 9.3 broad, but really hopefully he's able to get healthy enough by that March 30th pro day there at OU and able to do some of the position drills. But man, it did not look good. He looked like he was in a lot of pain when he pulled up on that second 40.
Yeah, that's tough, and that's part of like some of the frustration that some people have is like, why are we taking these 320-pound offensive linemen and have them do 40-yard sprint, which is something they don't ever do. It's just that's the nature of the beast. Overall athletic measurements and
They do it because you can look as good as Anton Harrison looked doing it, you know?
right. Yeah, that's true. So I don't know. Like he turned a lot of heads at the Senior Bowl. So some of these numbers are good. The first 40 is the solid number. So I think he'll be okay. If he wants, he'll have another opportunity perhaps because I don't think pro day's till the end of March, right? And they're like
Right.
3 or
I
4
think
weeks.
March 30th, right? Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Late.
Yeah. So hopefully he's got some time. And at the very least, I'm hoping he can do the position drills just to show. I think the most impressive thing for Wanya is the movement kind of in short space and the balance at that size is what teams are really interested in. And I think that if he can get healthy enough to do that and show that so that those teams can get eyes on him up close at pro day, that'll be good for him. But yeah, just a bummer that he was one of the guys that ended up having an issue there with an injury. Eric Gray didn't run the 40. What do we think about that?
I don't know.
Because I feel like that's the question for him, right? The top end speed, which I don't know how many times we have to have people tell us, whether they are general managers or scouts or like our buddy Jim Nagy at the Senior Bowl, top end speed is very overrated at the running back position in the National Football League. But it's still interesting he didn't run a 40.
Yeah. And if he's healthy across the board, and that's the question mark, it looks like you're dodging the question
That's
a little
true.
bit, right? So I don't know, but you can dodge the question when it's asked on their turn and answer it whenever it's asked on your terms at pro day, right? You want a number on my 40, you can come watch it at pro day. So yeah, as long as he puts out a good number at pro day, you can't totally dodge it. You can't, if you're healthy and that's the question on you, you can't just put that off. It's not like he's some incredibly slow football player.
No, it's not like he's running a
he's
4.8 or anything. Like,
right. He's an explosive running back that's athletic that, I would be shocked if he was there kind of, in upper 25% of running backs, but I imagine he's going to be right there kind of in the pack type of number.
yeah. And you look at, he had a 37.5-inch vert. He had a 9.10 broad, which typically 10 feet is what you're looking for, but he's not the tallest guy in the world. So 9.10 is a fine number for Eric Gray on that broad jump. So clearly he's got explosiveness, but for whatever reason, people just want to see every skill guy run the 40. And when they don't run one, it's like, what is he trying to hide? Why would he do this? So I'm assuming he'll run the 40 at OU's pro day, but
Yeah, probably. I would guess.
He's extremely elusive. Got really good tape from this last year at OU, but yeah, I won't lie. It's a little disappointed he didn't run the 40. I wanted to see what the time was. Now I got to wait longer. Ted, I'm not that patient. What the hell?
I don't know. That's funny. I was just thinking the broad jump. Gabe, I'm not exaggerating. My broad jump was terrible at the combine. I don't remember what it was. I didn't jump 10 feet, but when I did it at the combine, it was the first time I had done broad jump since like 5th grade track day. You know, like that was the long jump at the elementary track meet. That was the last time that I had done it. Terrible. And I don't think it's a thing that a lot of guys practice, you know?
Well, they do now because the combine preparation. You didn't wait, hold on. You didn't prepare for broad jump at
Not
all?
one time. No, not at all.
Well, that's on whoever where did you go to train for the combine? What the hell are they doing?
I don't know. The only thing that we really trained, looking back on it, I should have just stayed at OU. But there was a bunch of like big name guys there. We kind of practiced some 40 stuff like starts, but it wasn't good. I should have stayed at OU and just always done the things that I had done. That's what I should have done. But like I didn't care about the broad jump at all. Did not care one bit. It was dumb.
You're like, I'm here to run a blazing fast 40 and that's it.
It should have just trained it. I don't know. I'm not even sure I knew that they were going to test us on it.
Oh my God, Dad. What?
It's funny.
My broad jump wasn't good, but at least I knew we were going to do it, man.
The thing about like the broad jump and the vertical, it's about jumping, but it's also about trying to find a way to cheat. Like,
oh yeah,
that's the key to the drill.
They're trying to rip your right arm out of its socket on the reach test, and you're trying to like squeeze that scap as hard as you possibly can.
This is as high as it goes. It's down here. I cannot raise it any more than this.
And they say, relax. We're like, no, I am relaxed. You relax. I'm relaxed. You relax. Oh, it's so good. But hey, I will say this. As bummed as I was that Eric Gray didn't run his 40 at the combine, that's like the number one thing I'm pumped for now for OU Pro Day. And you and I are on the Pro Day coverage. So come on, that's gonna be the thing everyone's gonna be interested in. I feel like that's gonna be the number one story heading into the Pro Day.
Has to be that, and I don't know, maybe see what Wanya Morris's hamstring looks like if he's able to do some drills. And does Jalen Redmond even show up after the performance he put on?
He'll be there. Maybe he'll do position drills, but he ain't doing any of the. He's not doing a 40 or a shuttle or any of that stuff. He has he's done that, and he'll never have to do it again. That's the good part.
That's good.